In this video, you're going to be taking a look at the Dagobah Luke Skywalker for the Vintage Collection. He's VC44. So this is probably one of the most unique Luke Skywalker action figures we've gotten in the TVC line. Prior to this action figure, I don't think we have ever gotten a Dagobah Landing specific Lukes before in the entirety of the Hasbro Star Wars line. Obviously, it's loosely based upon his appearance during the Battle of Hoth, but there are some differences. Mainly that he doesn't have any gloves, and also he doesn't have the skull cap around his head there. And it does have a little bit of a different wash around him. Obviously, he's been through the swamp, and it doesn't really look like he has a swampy appearance to him, but you can tell that he's been in this suit for a little while now, and that it's starting to look a little more worn. So I think this is one of the more overlooked action figures in the TVC line. To be honest, at the time this was released, I don't recall seeing this guy at retail at all, ever. I've known of his existence ever since he was released, but even if I did find it at retail, it's probably not one I would have gotten, because at the time I would probably only get one or two action figures of a specific character, and for Luke Skywalker I would prefer to have like his Return of the Jedi appearance, and if I did end up getting Empire Strikes Back appearance for Luke, I would probably end up getting his Bespin fatigues. But for this action figure, I actually got this from Tungori a couple years ago now at this point, maybe about 2 years. Interesting thing though, at the time of this video, it seems like Tungori's URL has expired, so perhaps he has to renew the domain name or something. But hopefully he gets that back online at some point soon, or he ends up going back to eBay or something. But we'll see. What else can I say about this Luke? So yeah, as I mentioned, I've had it about 2 years now. Tungori for the longest time has had them up on his site, and just before the URL or the domain went down for him for his website, I think he was still selling them on his site up until recently. And I think I only paid maybe about $20 for it, which is a really good deal, because the carded versions of this action figure usually go for a very expensive price on eBay. It's a nice Luke Skywalker action figure, but it's not something I would generally want to spend like $100 plus for. So Luke's version of him is pretty good, although he is not 100% accurate to the regular release, and that's mostly for the helmet here. From my understanding, this is the exact same helmet that is released with the Jedi Destiny X-Wing Luke action figure, and in fact I have that action figure nearby right now, and it does indeed look like the same exact helmet. But I did look at some images online of the actual helmet that comes with this action figure, and there are some paint differences and small things like that, but overall it's very similar. And one other thing I'll mention is that I believe there was a variant for this action figure at the time. The original run for his lightsaber had a much more of a clear blue, while later releases ended up having the more blue like you see here. So let's just take a closer look at him. So as far as Luke head sculpts go, I think this is definitely one of the better ones out there. Obviously this is much more scene specific, so his hair is a little more sweaty, I guess. But I think they did a nice job with the face sculpt there. Very neutral expression. Hair looks good. I do like all the small details he has in his face, like all the creases and small things like that. It's very nice. So from my understanding, this is kind of a retool of the Snowspeeder Luke from the Legacy Collection. As I mentioned, the only real difference between his appearance at the Battle of Hoth and here is the skull cap, maybe gloves, and a couple other small things here and there. There are some new parts about this action figure. I think maybe his arms could be brand new. Obviously the head sculpt, but maybe the body and the legs possibly are just borrowed from the Snowspeeder Luke. For the rest of his suit, I think it looks pretty good. They could probably have made his arms a little bit shorter. As you can see, he does have some longer arms. I think most people would agree that's the case for him. Nice orange suit. Various pouches on him. And the flight gear here, which is pretty flexible. I was thinking before I recorded this video if he would end up being able to fit inside of the X-Wing, and I think he would. Might have to break that out again at some point and see how he fits in it. Does have the holster here. Does have this tube here that plugs into his pocket, and that is a removable piece. And then his boots. In terms of his articulation, he is pretty good. He does have the ball jointed head and hinged shoulders, elbows, swivel forearms in this case, joint at the torso, then swivel hips, then hinged knees and hinged ankles. So super articulation for the time. In terms of accessories, he does come with quite a few. Does have the blaster pistol that he uses throughout the film. It's pretty similar to like Han Solo's blaster. I think this is more specific to Luke. Does have the brown pistol grip there, and the silver at the end. The compensator is the technical name for it. And it does fit securely in the holster. It does have the ignited lightsaber and then the hilt. At least I'm pretty sure he comes with a hilt. And there is a spot on his belt where that plugs it in. The ignited lightsaber. And then the helmet, like I said, is not totally accurate, but this helmet is perfectly fine for him. It is a little large, but it's good enough. I imagine for most people, though, this is a Luke that they're probably not going to have the helmet on him anyway, because usually when, for this particular scene, he doesn't have his helmet on at all, except when he initially crashes. But if you're wanting to reenact a Dagobah scene after he first lands, you're probably not going to have the helmet on. It is a very nice card image for his package as well. This is an action figure I would not mind getting carded, but like I said, at this time, it's very expensive if you get this action figure brand new. Perhaps Hasbro will do a repack at some point. We'll see. I think this is an action figure a lot of people would like a repack for. So we'll do a couple comparisons here. Here he is with the X-Wing Luke, more updated version. Big differences in those head sculpts, but they're both good in their own way. And you can see the difference between the flight suits. And another important character for him, R2-D2. They do look good together. Even though this is technically a New Hope specific R2, you could use him as like a Dagobah landing version of him. I don't think we really have a Dagobah R2-D2, at least in TBC line we don't. I think in the previous lines before that we might have one. I'm trying to think, is either 30th anniversary or Legacy Collection, maybe even Saga Collection, somewhere in that range. But this is still a pretty good R2-D2 to go alongside this Luke here. But that's pretty much all I could tell you about this Dagobah landing Luke Skywalker. Would I recommend him for your collection? If you're a big fan of Luke Skywalker and you want most of the variants of him, then yes, I would say this is an essential action figure to have. In terms of Luke Skywalker action figures, I think this is one of the better ones out there. If you want a pilot Luke of any sorts, this is definitely a great contender for you. But if you're more of a casual collector, or you're only particular about having one or two Lukes in your collection, this is probably not the most essential one for you, especially given the price that he goes for these days. Loose, he's definitely much cheaper than he is on the card. If you find him loose, you might find him for maybe in the $30 range, which is really not that bad, I guess, for the TVC 1.0 action figures these days. In terms of getting a repack, it's hard to say. Sometimes Hasbro surprises us, like Ura Scene, who I'll have the video up here for soon. Didn't really expect a repack for her anytime soon, but it does seem like the original for her is probably going to be a slightly better action figure compared to the repack because of the accessories, and the for-real face doesn't really do much of an upgrade for her. So perhaps that's something worth holding out for, is maybe Hasbro doing a repack for this. But we'll see. But overall, it's a good action figure. I'm happy to have it in my collection. It's a personal goal of mine to eventually complete all the TBC 1.0 action figures in my collection. And at this point, I'm about 80% of the way there. So we're getting pretty close. And this is an essential one to help complete that. But anyways, that concludes this review. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for plenty more reviews in the future. There'll always be more to come. If you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I always appreciate all your support, and check out some links in the description if you haven't done so already. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.